If the world hasn't stopped moving, your money shouldn't slow you down. With Bloombank Africa, you are always connected, wherever, whenever, in many ways than one. So whether you're sending funds to family, paying for goods and services, settling bills, or just making sure you've got some cash at hand, Bloombank puts speed, simplicity, and security in the palm of your hand. Transfer funds between your Wave or AfriMoney account and your Bloombank account anytime, anywhere, because your money should flow at the pace of your life. Visit your nearest Bloombank branch today to link your account. Bloombank Africa. We make it happen.
In the Gambia, we all move to different paces. Time is money, convenience is power, and now both are in your hands. No more long lines, no more late payments, no more missed chances, not anymore. Because now the Gambia has its own super app, Zap. One app, one tap, endless convenience. Send money instantly, pay your bills in seconds, shop without borders, pay your rides, order your meal, buy your ticket, deposit and withdraw money for absolutely free. No extra charges, no hidden fees, only on Zap Super App. This is not just convenience. This is confidence. This is the future in your hands. And the best part, Zap is born right here. Built for us, designed for every Gambian home, every Gambian dream. So don't wait in the past. Step into the future. Download Zap today on App Store and Play Store and enjoy endless free services. Call us today on our toll-free number 1666 or on 260-0001. Zap. All in one. All for you. Tap in. Zap in.
JAH Oil Company stands tall as a trusted name in energy, keeping the Gambia moving with service stations across the country and a commitment to innovation and reliability. In Farafenni, JAH Group is reshaping our industrial landscape. The JAH Oil Cement Factory can produce up to 100,000 bags a day, reducing imports, creating jobs, and building a stronger Gambia brick by brick. And in the heart of the Central River region, JAH Farming Initiative is cultivating food security. With thousands of hectares under development and modern irrigation, JAH Farming is turning the Gambia's soil into abundance. JAH Group is more than a company. It is a vision of self-sufficiency, resilience, and progress. The JAH Group of companies, investing in industry, agriculture, and energy, building the Gambia's future today.
Santa Yala.
Nakar, utul wave, nga scan, nga fay, nak doo ci yokku dara.
Human rights lawyer and former president of the Gambia Bar Association, Mr. Salieu Taal. He joins us to examine the legal and constitutional implications of the president's recent statement following the acquittal of Ousainou Bojang and what it means for the rule of law, the country's transitional justice path, and the independence of the judiciary. He'll also speak to the rumors surrounding a possible arrest of LJ Dabo and the Bar Association's own response on to the unfolding debate. Mr. Taal, thanks for coming back onto Coffee Time with Peter Gomez.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
To begin, what was your initial legal reading of the president's statement following the acquittal of Ousainou Bojang?
Good morning. First of all, I think before even delving into the issue, I think it is very important to situate the issue as a human tragedy.
Okay.
We have two servicemen I think Lamin Daba, I think Mola Job, who lost their lives while serving, and the lady Bintanjah, who was seriously injured. We must really, ensure that they get justice. So any discussion about legal issues, niceties, must be very sensitive to the fact that 3 service personnel, 2 lost their life, 1 injured while serving the country. And we'd like to really commiserate with their families and the security forces who really, it's a big loss to the country, because these are the people who actually keep us safe. So, and I also think it is important to know that justice must be pursued, on all accounts, but it must be done within the strict boundaries of the law. So my intervention as a rights advocate and a human rights advocate and someone who believes in the rule of law is within the context of ensuring that there's justice and accountability. I think, for me, I don't want to focus too much on what the president said, because that has to be taken within the context and a series of events that happened. I think it's a culmination of events that led to that statement. So I think, first of all, where do we start?
Yes.
Where do we start? We all woke up in horror to hear that 2 policemen were shot and 1 is seriously injured. This is something that we're not used to in this country. And obviously, there was a call for justice and accountability, and of course, a sense of insecurity. So someone was arrested, taken to a court of law, and subsequently acquitted by a court of law. Acquitted by a court of law. I believe Ousainou Job and his sister were before the High Court, presided over by Justice Jaite, and they were both acquitted and discharged. And we need to understand that it is the court that decides who is innocent or who is guilty. And under our constitution, under the common law, you are presumed innocent until you're found guilty. And it's only a court that has the power to decide who's innocent or guilty, regardless of what all of us think. Right? So I think that's the starting point. So, so they had the state presented their case, presented their evidence, and the defense also. I think Lamin Jeda was a defense lawyer who defended these 2 accused persons, and they were acquitted. And I believe they were in detention for close to 2 years, if I'm correct. And they were acquitted and released from mile 2, right? And when they were actually, what's very important, more important actually than even the president's statement, is the fact that they were released by a court. And when they were being released by the court, the state announced to the court that they are dissatisfied with the ruling of the court and will appeal. And the law allows the state to do that. And state, when they made that application before the court, they also told the court that they're applying for those, for the 2 to be detained. And the court ruled that, yes, we acknowledge your right, we take note of your announcement that you will appeal the decision to the higher court, and also the application to have them detained. And the judge went ahead and granted them bail. So they were acquitted, discharged, and bailed by a court of law, which meant that they are at liberty to leave mile 2 prison. After they left mile 2 prison, they were subsequently arrested by the security forces, I believe the police, without any lawful court order, in defiance of the court order. So the issue of their detention was already addressed by the court at the stage of their acquittal and discharge. I think this is very, very fundamental, and it's very, very serious.
Explain to our listeners, or help us understand, what does the doctrine of separation of powers require in situations like this?
Well, the doctrine of separation of powers, in simple terms, means that you have 3 arms of government, and they have 3 different roles. The parliament makes the laws, and the executive executes, implements the laws, i.e. the police is part of the executive. And the judiciary decides what is the law. They adjudicate. So the judiciary, i.e. the judge, pursuant to their constitutional mandate to decide who's guilty or not guilty, who can go to prison, who cannot go to prison. Decided that Ousainou Bojang and his sister are not guilty based on the evidence before the court, and acquitted and discharged them. They also decided that they should not be kept in custody after their acquittal and discharge, despite the fact that the state has actually expressed their desire to appeal and actually filed an appeal subsequently. The court ruled that they should not be detained. So the only basis upon which a person in a democracy, in a constitutional democracy, is in a country based on the rule of law, can be taken to a prison or detained is based on lawful authority or court order. And that was not the case.
Okay. In your view, how can public statements from the executive, even when well-intentioned, affect perceptions of judicial independence in this case?
I think, that's a very, very good question. I believe when this happened, I think the Minister of Justice issued a statement, making it very clear that they respect the independence of the judiciary, but also that they will exercise their right to appeal against the judgment, right? Which is allowed. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I think what is problematic is that, of course, that statement ignored the fact that that Ousainou and his sister were detained. They were detained. Of course, they were detained without a court order and in defiance of an existing court ruling. The judgment. A judgment that set them free, a judgment that already dealt with the detention, because they applied for them to detain in that particular court, and the court said no, we will give them bail. So if the state isn't happy with that or is dissatisfied with that judgment, they should go back to court. If they have evidence that suggests that it is these people ought to be detained, maybe for reasons that they know that with evidence that they have that nobody has, they can go to the court, present that evidence, ask for a variation of the bail conditions. Maybe they have some national security information or evidence that we may not have or may not be. So I think now when you make that statement, that clearly assures the country that is a country of the rule of law. The country follows the law, and it is in that spirit that the state is appealing against the judgment delivered by Justice Detainment. Then you have the head of state making a statement. I think I believe it was in a political setting. To the effect that that person who was found not guilty by a court, the president saying that person is actually guilty, right? Although he also said that he respects the ruling of the court. He said he qualified his statement, which was a good thing. But I think he ought not to have made a pronouncement as to the guilt or innocence of somebody who's acquitted by a court. Not only that, whilst the matter is still in court, because the matter is now going through the appeal process. So the state has appeal process. So judges at the court of appeal, at the higher court, now have to decide whether this person is guilty or not, whether they should maintain the decision of the lower court or send them to prison. So that, imagine a court of appeal now, has to decide a case, and the president has taken his position saying that that particular individual, I think that is not that's ill-advised with respect and improper, because when a matter is in court, I think the executive should allow the judiciary to do their job in accordance with law.
What safeguards exist in the Gambia's constitutional framework to protect the courts from undue influence or pressure?
I think there are always, the mandate, the powers of the different arms of government is very clear in the Constitution. You can't legislate against what somebody can say, because obviously the president is he's the commander in chief, and he's the head of the executive, right? So
one could argue that his statement is a form of pressure.
Well, I mean, it could be construed as pressure, and it could put pressure, provided that the judiciary is not independent. But an independent judiciary, notwithstanding what the president said, will still administer justice in accordance with law, based on evidence. So I believe that the judiciary will do what they believe is right based on the evidence and the law. But it's just for one, there's optics of it. It really undermines the confidence in the judicial system, because for the average man in the street, they don't understand the distinction between role of the president and role of the judiciary. So when what the president says carries a lot of weight, people listen to him.
Yes.
So even though he has said, I respect the judiciary, but other part of it saying that Ousainou Bojang is, I don't know exact, but I'm just paraphrasing.
Yeah.
So there's something to the effect that Ousainou Bojang
translating to not agreeing with the ruling.
And also that he's the perpetrator. That's what
or that he's guilty.
He's guilty. I think it's almost like usurping, taking the role of what a judge should do. It is only a judge or court of law that can pronounce guilt or innocent. So that is not the role of the president. But having your view is one thing, but having your view on a case that is ongoing, I think it's ill-advised, and I hope he's properly advised. No matter with the intention, and of course sometimes the sensitivity of the issue. But I believe that statement ought not to have been made,
especially by him.
Yeah, and I think it should be retracted and put in context, because one of the things that Gambia is now known for is having a very independent judiciary. And to the best of my knowledge, the judiciary and the executive have really left the judiciary to be on their own and have been deciding.
Independent.
They've decided in many cases against the government, against even the president. They decided against the president in the Yakumajati case. They decided several cases without any interference.
Exactly.
And that is, for me, that's great. For me, when the judgment was delivered, that was a testimony to the independence of our judiciary. It was a testimony to the fact that Gambia is a country that respects the rule of law. So the statement that came from the president, the arrest, number one, without following the law, and the statement in combination undermine that process, which Gambia is now getting known for globally. So I think the president is better advised to, no matter what the platform, when matters are in court, the Attorney General's chambers can handle the case, and the courts would decide either way whether a person is guilty or innocent. But it's not up to the president
to make a decision like that,
or to purport to. I don't think he's not making it. But when you say it, it's like your comment can be misconstrued.
Exactly.
Of course, in as much as everyone knows that it's the judges.
It's the authority from which it is coming from.
Where it comes from. It really
that's the highest authority.
It sends the wrong message.
You said you want to discuss the implications of the country's transitional justice trajectory. How does this moment intersect with that broader national process?
When you talk about transitional justice, what are we transitioning from? If this statement was made by the former president, I don't think anybody would be surprised, because what happened, acquittal and arrest was the order of the day on the former regime. In fact, they would actually stand outside the court house and pick you up the moment you were acquitted. So that was what
that is the cause of the alarm.
Yeah, that was the order of the day that Gambian said, no, we don't want this anymore. And he would say very clearly that, I own this country and the judiciary work for me and the rest of it. Today, that is something that is not acceptable. We are transitioning from that system where the executive was interfering with the judiciary, was executive overreach in the judiciary. Today we are transitioning to to a point where we know that all arms of government are governed by the laws of the land, including the executive and the legislature. So now to have gone this far,
yes,
having a transitional justice process that had a TRRC, an anti-corruption element to it, and implementing that process, and the judiciary now in the Gambia, are acting independently, and I believe they are independent based on my own personal observation as a legal practitioner. Now to hear a sitting president after in today's Gambia to speak that manner, I think that really undermines the process. Even if that's not the intention, but it's sort of like you sort of wait a minute, because did he actually say that? It's like, for me, it's like I couldn't, when I saw the online, I can't speak Mandinka. I had to ask. I said, look, can you really translate this? I don't think this is true.
It leads me to ask, what risks arise when public confidence in the justice system becomes entangled with political reactions to high-profile cases like this?
I think there's a reason why you have what they call a sub-judicial rule. The judiciary is one arm of government that should be shielded from politics and sensationalism and the rest of it. That's why, for example, even I, as a lawyer, I cannot discuss a case that is in court with the media while the case is ongoing. There's a limit as to what you can comment, so that you don't affect the outcome of the case or influence it even from the outside. So that sub-judicial applies across the board. So that justice can happen objectively without public sentiment, without political influence. That is at the core of an independent judiciary. They deliver justice without fear or favor. Yeah. So now but unfortunately with social media, there's a lot of public discussions about cases and the rest of it. And that, of course, we live in an environment where anybody could talk about anything, especially those who are not sort of bound by the rule. But I think people who are, let's say, officers of the law, let's say lawyers, and people who are in the executive should know better. So should refrain from discussing ongoing cases, especially, so that allow the law to take its course, so that at least the outcome of any case is not at least in any way or shape or form influenced by public perception, because justice should be rendered regardless of what the public thinks. Because sometimes the public doesn't have the evidence or understand the import of the evidence, and what happens in court is determined by what evidence is brought before the court, rightly or wrongly, in the eyes of the judge. And if the judge can get it wrong, for example, there's other layer where you can appeal. So it's a process.
There have been rumors about a possible arrest of L.J. Dabo following comments he made after the trial. Without speculating, what legal standards should guide any action taken in such circumstances?
Okay. The same way you heard these rumors. I had the same rumors. Of course, L.J. Dabo is a colleague, a member of the bar, and he has a right to conduct cases as counsel, and that case is not about him. He's just representing someone. Two accused persons who, under the law, are entitled to legal representation. Yes. So, we don't. I don't want to delve too much into what he said. I don't want to repeat what he said. I don't believe. I would not like to believe that in today's Gambia, somebody like a lawyer could really be arrested or called to the police for making comments about certain comments around a case. I don't think that's the right thing to do, and I do not believe it will be done. But obviously, if a member of the bar we believe that their rights are being infringed, we definitely would also, help protect their interests, because as a lawyer, he can't just be called to the police based on what he said. Whatever he said in the context of his job and profession, and I don't. Even if what he said, is improper or possibly improper, I don't think that's the basis of him being calls to the police or being arrested. I mean, as alleged in the press, in the social media. Yeah. So, what obviously I believe the state would advise itself if the rumor is true and not make any attempts to try to invite Mr. Lamin Dabo to clarify whatever information he is alleged to have said after the case.
The Gambia Bar Association has issued its own statement. More broadly, what, in your view, is the role of the bar at a moment like this?
I think, I've been a past president of the bar. I served 2 terms. I think the bar has, the bar has really moved away from just being a trade union of lawyers to also an institution that defends the rule of law, the justice sector, institutions, and good governance, and human rights. So we are a very important stakeholder when it comes to, public advocacy. Helping educate the population about their rights and what the law is, and also working very closely with stakeholders. We work with civil society, we work with the government to really be part of rebuilding our democracy through having progressive laws. We've been very, very much active in many of the laws that are now enacted by the National Assembly, promoted through the executive. We've been very much active in the transitional justice space in terms of helping the government in the design and implementation of accountability mechanism to try those who have accused of committing serious violations under the previous regime. So our role is very broad. We represent. Of course, we look at we protect the welfare of our members as long as they are acting within the confines of the law. We also promote and uphold respect for the rule of law. For example, our intervention through the statement is an example where we believe that we need to advise the authorities to be mindful of the actions and steps they're taking to make sure that their steps and actions are within the confines of the law. And also there's intervention that we do that are not always necessarily in the public domain, where we also engage the authorities to share our views many a time on issues we feel the authorities should heed to our advice as far as the law is concerned.
What lessons should institutions, the executive, the judiciary, and the bar take from this episode?
I think in terms of, I think lessons, I think the beauty of it all is that we live in an era where we have a space to talk and interact democratically. In the past, we never had this space where we could really interface with the state constructively and vice versa. The judiciary by their very nature cannot do much talking, because the judiciary has to be distant from the public so they can be independent, they can discharge their role without any interference. So whenever the judiciary is sort of attacked, or we feel like they are being undermined, intentionally or otherwise, it is the role of the bar to step and speak up. Because the role of the judiciary is to ensure that the rule of law is respected, to ensure that there's justice, and to ensure that there's peace. Because when you have rule of law, you have justice, you have peace. So they have a very important role to play. That's why that's why we have to protect and safeguard their independence. And for us as a bar, that's one of our roles also, to make sure that we ensure and protect and safeguard the independence of the judiciary by speaking up in such instances and in other instances. Also, of course, when the rights of individuals are infringed, also within the broader space of things, you engage lawyers to defend you. But when the issue has a wider constitutional import, we also would weigh in and speak to it. And sometimes our members go and do court cases pro bono. Sometimes we do amicus, where we help the court to basically shed light on important legal principles which we think will help the jurisprudence of our country, at least in terms of really bringing out the importance of respecting the rule of law, respecting our democratic values, respecting the fact that now we're a country governed by a constitution, and that must be respected by everybody, everyone.
Are there reforms or clarifications you believe could help prevent similar tensions in the future?
I mean, I just think, you see, you can have laws, you can have all kinds of laws in your books. You can have a great constitution. America has a great constitution, yes. and Donald Trump is saying whatever he wants every day. So it's not because of
no restraint.
Yeah, I just think that it is important that public officials with authority who have a lot of influence should be mindful of just making unguarded statements. And I think those who are also in charge of advising the president should also do their utmost to advise, because the president, in a sense, is the lay person as far as the law is concerned. He may not know the boundaries, right? He may not know the boundaries, but I think people around him should really advise him as to what he can say in these instances. And in the event that he makes an off-the-cuff statement where he spontaneously says something that is not aligned with the law, I think they should be able to fix it. They should be able to say, okay, this is what the president said, but in the context, he was not trying to undermine or intended to undermine the judiciary. And, just a press statement would have just cleared the air. Said, look, the president said this at a political rally in a political context, but he's not trying to undermine the judiciary. This is what he meant. That could have been done, and I think that would have at least helped clear the air. So to me, I think is that part of the communication and advice that would really be helpful, because you can't legislate against these things. You can't have safeguard that would limit what somebody can say. You can't anywhere in the world. I think it's a question of just being reminded that there's some things in a democracy that should not be said, and you all have to follow the law, no matter how emotional we are, no matter how much we think it's political. But when some things, even in political season, should be above politics, right? So I think when it comes to things like the independence of the judiciary, the rule of law, I think this is something that's good for Gambia, that's good for all political parties, that's good for the president. I think this is something that we should jealously guard and safeguard. I mean, at all costs, in my opinion. So I think even if you are, just because we are now in political season, it's not a license for anybody, both the incumbent and the opposition, to speak anyhow when it comes to these issues. That's my opinion anyway.
On a final note, what message would you offer Gambians who are watching this debate unfold and wondering what it means for the future of the rule of law in the country?
I think as citizens, I mean, the strength of a democracy depends on how enlightened the population is. I mean, you have rights, but you must safeguard those rights as citizens, because we are sovereign. We are the power that is exercised by the arms of government comes from us. So we must be very diligent, and must jealously guard and protect those rights. And if we feel like our rights are being violated, we must not shy away from actually speaking out against those violations, because it's our right as citizens, of course, within the scope of the law. And I think many a time, people will look at me and say, "Oh, you're an activist." I said, "Well, call me whatever you want, but you as a citizen also, I'm fighting for you. You should fight for yourself." I mean, it's about ensuring that our rights are respected at all times, reminding those in power that the power to exercise belongs to the people, and they must exercise those powers within the confines of the law. I think that is the duty of every citizen, and I think that's what makes a state work properly. And respecting the rule of law is actually good for the country. It makes sure that it will help build a cohesive society. We know what we went through before, and we should never again go back to that era. And it's only our citizens who can stop that. And when you're in a transition, there's always that push and pull between the executive and the citizen and civil society. And that's natural. But we must do it within confines of law and order and peace. That I always call for that. And I always call on the government, especially the state, to be magnanimous enough to understand that people will disagree with the state. That's normal. That's healthy. You'll have dissenting voices. Those voices are dissenting are not necessarily against the government. They just have a different views and they just yearning for their rights to be respected. And the government must also do its best to ensure that they meet the needs of the people. I mean, make sure the people enjoy their rights. If, somebody is detained, give them the rights under the law. If a court acquits someone, accept that it's a court that has a right to acquit. You have an avenue to appeal against the acquittal. Take that avenue. I don't think it's very, very complex. And I think we just need to have more conversation that it is not business as before. We are now in a different Gambia. So we must at all times stick to what the law says and go to the courts when we disagree and let the courts, what is within the court's purview is within the court's purview. The state has a duty to give us security. The judge cannot interfere in that security at all. The court has a duty to decide who's innocent or guilty. The executive cannot. National Assembly make laws. The judge cannot start making laws. The executive can start making laws. Everybody has their role. This is the separation of powers, and they all coexist. And we must recognize that. And all their powers come from us. So the more we understand that, the more we understand that they have to coexist, interdependent, but they have separate roles and responsibilities. And we need to educate ourselves as a country as to this is why that sometimes when these things happen, we said, no. This should not be the case. It may just seem to many as rhetoric, even with rhetoric, but it's more than that. So even the optics of it doesn't look good. And I think it's very important that when these things happen, we speak about it, learn from it, and ensure it doesn't happen again.
Mr. Taal, thank you very much
pleasure.
for your time this morning.
It's a pleasure.
In the Gambia, we all move to different paces. Time is money, convenience is power, and now both are in your hands. No more long lines, no more late payments, no more missed chances, not anymore. Because now the Gambia has its own super app, Zap. One app, one tap, endless convenience. Send money instantly, pay your bills in seconds, shop without borders, pay your rides, order your meal, buy your ticket, deposit and withdraw money for absolutely free. No extra charges, no hidden fees, only on Zap Super App. This is not just convenience. This is confidence. This is the future in your hands. And the best part, Zap is born right here. Built for us, designed for every Gambian home, every Gambian dream. So don't wait in the past. Step into the future. Download Zap today on App Store and Play Store and enjoy endless free services. Call us today on our toll-free number 1666 or on 260-0001. Zap. All in one. All for you. Tap in. Zap in.
JAH Oil Company stands tall as a trusted name in energy, keeping the Gambia moving with service stations across the country and a commitment to innovation and reliability. In Farafenni, JAH Group is reshaping our industrial landscape. The JAH Oil Cement Factory can produce up to 100,000 bags a day, reducing imports, creating jobs, and building a stronger Gambia brick by brick. And in the heart of the Central River region, JAH Farming Initiative is cultivating food security. With thousands of hectares under development and modern irrigation, JAH Farming is turning the Gambia's soil into abundance. JAH Group is more than a company. It is a vision of self-sufficiency, resilience, and progress. The JAH Group of companies, investing in industry, agriculture, and energy, building the Gambia's future today.
sant yàlla. looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay nag doo ci yokku dara.
If the world hasn't stopped moving, your money shouldn't slow you down. With Bloombank Africa, you are always connected, wherever, whenever, in many ways than one. So whether you're sending funds to family, paying for goods and services, settling bills, or just making sure you've got some cash at hand, Bloombank puts speed, simplicity, and security in the palm of your hand. Transfer funds between your Wave or AfriMoney account and your Bloombank account anytime, anywhere, because your money should flow at the pace of your life. Visit your nearest Bloombank branch today to link your account. Bloombank Africa. We make it happen.